Good morning and welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report. I'm John. I'm here to talk to you today about a few things that are going on in and around the nation and around the world. We'll start out with Mr. Trump's appears in the court to make or break a moment for the election interference case. I'm not sure which one of the brain dead attorney generals from what state is doing this to him, but it continues. The persecution continues. Meantime, on the other side of the aisle, we have people just running fast and loose with the law and getting away with it on a daily basis with no consequences. In the meantime, Mr. Trump bears the brunt. I understand that in some of the Iowa Caucus town halls that they had accomplished yesterday, that Nikki Haley came out on top, according to mainstream media, who is pushing for her to be the nominee. Why, we don't really know, because it's a full known fact that she has raised a ton of money, in most cases from BlackRock type funders who want to see her in the position for their own gains. She is again stumping on the fact that she doesn't like Trump. But she did make comments about, that he shouldn't be taken off of ballots, which we all know. Anyone with a monicum of common sense will realize that that's not a proper thing to be doing, is to take anyone off a ballot, because we, the people, are the people who decide who we want to vote for and who should be on the ballot. So they don't have that right to do that, but they're exercising it in these blue states especially because they don't want him there. Why? Because they fear him. They fear Ramaswamy, because these are the two people that are actually telling you the truth about what they will do if they're elected. And from the first day on, it's not going to be according to the Democratic agenda that has been knocked down our throats since Obama took office. The fundamentally changing of the United States is not needed, and it certainly isn't needed by a bunch of liberal people who want to change the idealistic flow of things the way they were. Do I want to go back in time? No, but I'd like to move forward with the truth, what's integrity, and some honest politicians. Well, that's a oxymoron in itself, I guess, anymore, because every one of these people will make promises to you and forget all about them once they're in office and raking in some dollars from whatever avenue that they find to become rich while they're civil servants. They're already paid too much, and their lifetime benefits from being in Congress or the Senate are ridiculous because no one else has that possibility of getting a job like that. Not that I would ever want to be a politician in any fashion at all. First of all, it's a hard job if you do it right. And it's a hard job to walk away from all of the ideals that were put in front of you and chances to make bad decisions for your own profit. It's too tempting for these people. It's the only excuse I can come up with of why they want to be there and why they want to stay there so long. Look at Pelosi, who was shooting her mouth off again about Donald Trump. How can the hatred for one man disrupt an entire country? And this country is in some bad shape right now and getting worse under the IDs of this administration. And the clown cabinet of people that don't belong in these jobs because they have no idea how to function in them. It's almost hard to believe that some of these people that were on the elected side of things could even get elected, but they do. You know, I listened to some radio this morning on my way into town, and there was a woman on there on a talk show that called in, and I think the question on the talk show was, do we think that Biden will continue to run based on the fact of his last two appearances, back-to-back appearances? He did not look well or do well. And one, Jill had to help him off the stage, which is not a good thing. The man is 81 years old, obviously in cognitive decline. It's purely evident. But anyway, the question was, do these people think that they're going to try to push him out or he'll walk away? And her answer was that she hopes so because Newsom has great hair and he's a good-looking man. And that's why she would vote for him and anybody on his ticket. These are the soccer mom ideas. Now, if you want to go along with that, you know, that's happened in the past. It's happened with Bill Clinton, and it's happened with Obama. Oh, they thought he was attractive and, you know, the first black man and blah, blah, blah. And that gave him 8 years because soccer moms thought he was cute. Well, how did that work out for us? Not very well. Not very well indeed. Now we're in a mess with the southern border. It's only going to get worse because Joe is telling us through his White House press secretary that the border is closed. If this is what he really thinks, then we know he's delusional. Because now there's Venezuelan and Argentinian people coming through the border today, according to a sheriff down in Texas. They're trying to get through the fences, and when they get through, they're going to be met by sheriff's deputies in Texas. The National Guard is down there, and our Border Patrol agents. And what is going to happen is they're going to stop them. They're going to register them. They're going to give them a court date, and then they're going to be released into our country. Is this what you call a closed border? I don't think so. That's a wide open border with an invitation by our president to come in and join the ranks of the Biden voters. They say there's going to be 12-point-something million illegal veterans, illegal immigrants. I don't like calling them immigrants because once they cross that border illegally, they're criminals. But 12-point-something million of them dispersed all through our country without being vetted, without knowing from whence they came, what their backgrounds were, and what is their intent once here. I believe there's some out there with some bad intent in mind, especially the military-aged Chinese that are coming across our southern border. Now we have Iranians coming in through Niagara Falls. They got stopped. But how many haven't been? So they say Toronto is the new front for where they're going to start to send them in. Well, it's not a good situation to flood this country, destroy our social network programs, destroy our welfare programs, leave our veterans in the street with nothing to eat while these guys get hotel rooms, cell phones, and magically get enough money to buy cigarettes and whatever, while living in tent cities in some cases and police stations in others. They're taking nursing homes and putting people in the street so they can house illegal immigrants, border crashers, criminals. Just once, I'd like to see him empty out a hotel and fill it full of veterans that are deserving of a leg up. But we seem to care more about non-citizens than we do about our own citizens with this administration. And tell me what your thoughts are. Just comments below that I would love to see what your thoughts are on this. We're in skirmishes all over the world with the weakest military that we have in 80 years because we can't recruit any individuals anymore because of the nonsense that took place by our people that are in charge through the Pentagon. I don't want to get into details about some of the nonsense that went on, but let's just take a step back to the vaccine mandates. We let experienced military personnel leave the services because they refused to take an experimental shot. Now they say, well, we'll welcome them back now. But these people have already gone on to a different walk of life, or in some cases don't want to put up with the nonsense that caused this in the first place. It's a sad situation. But the fact that recruiting is down means that no one is interested in becoming military personnel anymore. Because their families, the ones that have families, have to live paycheck to paycheck and have to apply for welfare. This is our military, people. But yet, an illegal alien can cross the border and get everything he needs. Why? What is the purpose behind this administration's willingness to keep this border wide open and then lie to us and tell us that it's closed, that they're watching what's going on? Hard to believe that this is taking place, but it is. So the town halls that are going on out in Iowa have been pretty good, pretty informing. I think that, Nikki Haley's foray into this is our numbers are rising, which does not please me personally because I think that she's bought and paid for and we'll just get more of the same with regard to what's going on with the agenda now. I believe she'll go right along with it. And then Biden lies yesterday one more time, like, well, if his mouth is moving, it's probably a lie, that he has been in touch with Israel and begging them or telling them that they need to get out of the Gaza Strip. That's a lie because the Israelis were just as surprised as I was to hear that. But he'll say whatever it is that needs to be said to get your vote and to stay in power. These people want to stay in power. They're going to pull out every stop under the sun to do that, all while weakening us throughout the world, and people are watching. Don't think for a minute Putin doesn't know how weak we are. Don't think for a minute that Xi Jinping doesn't understand how weak we are under this president. And then again, you have to ask yourself, what do these countries have on Biden that makes him so compliant in protecting them? Is it because he and his son have made millions of dollars from each of these countries? Under what pretense? We don't know. Is there a prosecution underway to find out? No, because his name's not Donald Trump. The hatred and division in this country needs to stop. Going into this election, we need to look for forthright individuals that will tell you the truth, and their campaign promises need to have solutions attached to them. Not just word salad to appease your thought process. Get the truth out. Give us the solutions. And if you're going to give a politician money, find out first where it's going to go and what his or her solutions are to the following problems and list them. They're doing that in some of these town halls, but so far the only ones that I've watched that had answers and solutions were Vivek Ramaswamy. And RFK Jr. has solutions and knows what the problems are and what's embedded in it. But like I said yesterday, even our drug companies are so wrapped up in keeping this administration going because they're making money from it, all while we depend on China and India for our life-saving drugs. If we go to war with these people, guess what, folks? We don't have any drugs. And they're letting this happen. And the manufacturers need to bring it back. Bring back our automobile manufacturing. Bring back our drug manufacturing. Bring back our expertise in manufacturing. Even washing machines can't be made here anymore. And part of that is due to inflated salaries and unions. Joe's out for the backing of unions. Why do you think that is? Let's take a look. Money. Campaign money. Nikki Haley's raking it in. Why? I don't know, but it's being funded. She was mediocre at best in any other job she had. Maybe she was a good governor of her state. I'm not an expert in that, and I can't make a deal. I didn't live under her governorship. But is she ready for presidency of the United States in a world that's upside down right now? Absolutely not. We need a strong individual with a backbone to put us back into America first, the rest of the world second, and bring back normalcy to our schools, our universities. Our institutions of learning have failed for the last 2 decades. The change in curriculum, the tearing down of statues, the marching in the street with misinformation and Marxism at the helm is not the way this country is designed to work properly. If your children are the ones that are in the streets right now cheering on the Palestinians, get them home and spank them. Because they're wrong. They've been taught wrong. And it's Hezbollah that is the problem. And Hamas is the problem and the instigator of the disruption in that region right now. But you all have to understand, if you were taught history like they used to teach history, you would know that these conflicts in the Middle East have gone on for thousands of years. It goes back to the Romans. But maybe most of these kids were absent for that lesson or on their cell phones while the teacher was teaching it to them. That's another travesty in this country. Social media is a great thing if used properly. But for children to sit in a classroom texting each other while a teacher's trying to teach them is a recipe for them not knowing what they're supposed to know or learning what they're supposed to learn. Get the cell phones and the iPads out of the school systems, and maybe education won't suffer as it has in the last 10 years with failing math scores, science scores. Social studies are a thing of the past, or they're fractured to a point where you can't understand it anymore. And this election is a very, very, very important election that needs to be paid attention to. There are a lot of deciding factors in whether or not this country will survive as the republic that it was set up to be. And for a politician to go on a campaign trail and tell you if you elect this individual or that individual, then it's the end of democracy. That's pure bullshit. That's not true. First of all, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. And if they had paid attention in school, they'd know that. Or read the Constitution, they would know more. The appointees of this administration, none of them have any reason to be in the positions they're in, other than they were owed something. Secretary of Defense goes missing for days and no one knows about it. Blinken didn't know until the press told him. His next in line is on vacation in Puerto Rico and didn't understand that he was in ICU. Nobody did. How can a president, a commander-in-chief, not know where his Secretary of Defense is when you have 3 open fronts that we have military personnel stationed there? Ships that are being fired on in the Red Sea. This guy goes missing in ICU, tells no one, has a secret operation. We still don't know what his ailment was and what he was operated on for. And Biden is going to protect him. He has no business staying in that job. He was a lackluster general to begin with, and he's totally lost in the new job that he's taken place in that should be put out of over this incident. It's called AWOL. Him being a military man should understand that. You don't go missing for 4 and 5 days when you have 3 open fronts and you're in charge of it. How in the hell did that happen? And then the mainstream media, legacy media, is falling over themselves to protect him over this. Legacy media is nothing but the town crier for the Democratic Party. And if you think any different, you're wrong. Flip through the channels and listen. The media, their biggest charge right now is to get Donald Trump. Don't look over here where the real nonsense is happening. Look over here in the past and say that Donald Trump caused that. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, and I'm not telling you that he's the answer. I'm telling you that there are other people that are running and probably deserve your attention and your good common sense to make the right choice. But to persecute Mr. Trump any further than they have is getting old. The prosecution of these attorney generals that have decided on their own to take apart the 14th Amendment and use it against him is pure, well, it's beyond conjecture. It's stupidity. And the New York business, where no one has filed any complaints against him, and they have the audacity to tell President Trump what his Mar-a-Lago address is worth and then underinflate it and then accuse him of defrauding the banks, that he paid every bit of the loan back with interest. And the banks are going, we don't know why they're bringing these charges. It didn't hurt us. We don't feel we were defrauded. But yet this continues. Who is the criminal in that case? I think you know. It's not Donald Trump. Is he perfect? No. Is any man perfect? No. We all make mistakes. But to persecute him just to keep him off the ballot because they're scared out of their wits that he is going to uncover the sewer lid and show you these people. And that swamp is full. On both sides of the aisle, don't kid yourself, Republican, Independent, Democrat, they're all the same. And career politicians, we don't need them. We need people that have gone out, had to sign paychecks for people, run businesses, and understand what the average Joe and Mary have to go through to survive in this country from paycheck to paycheck and deal with all the things that they have to deal with in this crazy old world. And they should run for office, put their time in, and with term limits, go home when it's time and resume your productive capabilities in running your business or getting a job in the industry that you know. And this country will be back to where it was. Crime is rampant in the streets. Look what happened in New York yesterday, where these Palestinian protesters shut down all the bridges and people couldn't get to the hospital. They couldn't get to pick up their kids from school. They couldn't get to their needed workplace. They couldn't get anywhere because these dummies shut down the bridge. Where were the police? The police have their hands tied by an inept mayor of New York that doesn't care about you or your child that you can't get to or your job that you can't get to. He instituted, come to our city, we're the sanctuary city. We're New York. And now his news conferences are, we can't handle this anymore. They've sucked down our entire social network. You did it. And the police can't do anything about these dummies that are out there on the behalf of the Palestinian people shutting down bridges and disrupting the everyday person who makes the city work and pays taxes. These people need to be locked up for 3 days and taught a lesson. And they need to be put back in classes to understand the real situation in the Middle East. You cannot let these people control your city. First of all, I'll bet you dollars to donuts that half of these people were sent in there by bus from somewhere else. They're not even residents of New York. What's behind that? We've seen it happen before in other cities with BLM and Antifa. They're bussed in with a job to do, which is divide and conquer, and that's what they're up to in New York. And their excuse now is the Palestinian people are being mistreated by the Israelis. But yet, it was Hamas that came across the border on October 7th and slaughtered and tortured and kidnapped people that started all this. Wise up. Let your police do the job that they were hired to do, and they'll stop it. They could open those bridges in 10 minutes. But again, you have a situation in some of these blue cities where the police have taken early retirement because they can't do their job. And if they did do their job, they're brought up on charges and called racist. Why would you want a job like that? God help our police. It's a tough job to begin with, and they make it even tougher on them now. It's a sad situation that we're looking at. It's going to continue to get worse unless we shut the border down, give the power back to the police to take our cities back, and reelect mayors and governors in these states that care about their population, not about indigents. And you don't run a city based on how you're going to get more votes from who. You're elected to do a job. You should have the ability to do that job, and you should understand where you're going, what you're doing, and who you're doing it for. It's our citizenry that suffer here, while the bad get taken care of. I never thought I'd live to see that situation, but here we are in the midst of it. And the good news is we've got, it's still bad news. We have some really bad weather coming through the lower part of the southeast. The Florida Panhandle is getting hit with some tornado warnings and heavy winds and heavy rain. Up north, they're getting a little bit more precipitation in the form of snow, cold. Iowa has canceled some of the town halls today due to heavy snowstorms. Hopefully that will not keep the population locked in their houses and not caucusing, because I think we need a big caucus turnout in Iowa, and we need to have results. These people that I've watched at these town halls are pretty sharp people in Iowa. I think they get it, and they will continue to get it, and I think they'll turn out in good numbers to show that. Let's see, anything else? Of course, on the Sinead O'Connor death, there was a lot of speculation about was it drugs, was it this, was it that. The coroner has reported today that her death was a result of natural causes, which is a good thing. She was a very talented individual and an activist for a long time. God bless her. God keep her. It's good that it turned out to be natural causes. Let's see. Buying a home or auto right now is a difficult situation due to the fact that we have very high interest rates on both. Some of the auto manufacturers are coming out with 0% interest, which costs them money, but they're not moving inventory off the lots as they suspected. The electric cars are sitting there dead to the world because no one really wants them. Tesla's doing well, but they have their own set of problems as well. When you get into cold and frigid weather, their battery lives go down about 40%, and that's not good if you're traveling through these sub-zero temperatures. But they're good cars. They have a place. Should the dealers have and manufacturers have built so many and stuck them on a lot? No. It used to be demand. I remember the days when I ordered the new car and had to go order it and then tell them what my interior should look like and this, that. And you had a book that you could put your own car together in and then order it. And then 6-8 weeks later, it was delivered to your dealer. Why they didn't do that with these electric vehicles is beyond me, because it's an unproven situation. We don't have the infrastructure to sustain these things. The charging stations should be as plentiful as gas stations, but they're not. There's plans for it because Joe will tell you that it's going to be the latest, greatest thing, and then he's got it all worked out. Well, if he worked it out as good as Bidenomics, we're all in trouble. Let's see. Well, there is not very much happening other than the political news that's floating around today. It's interesting. People's take on Biden's performance is down to in the 38th percentile, which is probably not good. But if you remember back, Trump was down that low at 1.2. So early polls don't always prove out anything, but he has done a tremendously bad job at being president. To come in on day one and reverse everything that worked just for the sake of doing it, opening the border, destroying the economy, going around the world in disruption caused by this administration. Forget the Ukraine. Just pick one. We have sent so many tax dollars into the Ukraine conflict with the express intent of pissing off Mr. Putin. That's his idea of what a president does. And they're going to run him again until he can't function anymore. And then the surprise at the big convention will be they're going to snap somebody else in there to run in his place. How they're going to do that and get around Kamala Harris, I don't know. But they'll figure out a way. And she's just silly enough to go along with it. It'll be amazing. Everybody is talking, on the blue side about Gavin Newsom, Gavin Newsom. Well, if you look at the job he's done in California, why in the world would you even elect him dog catcher? And the women will tell you, oh, he's good looking and he has great hair. That's not the criteria to be putting into the White House right now. We have a whole cabinet full of those that don't do anything. Or when they do, they mess it up. So we're going to continue with that? You want to take the whole country and make it California? People are leaving there in droves. The tax situation, the stupid laws that were passed, they're giving the right to vote to illegal aliens now. This is Gavin Newsom. This is the guy with great hair and good looks that the soccer moms want to make president. Don't let this happen unless you want to say goodbye to America, which Joe Biden is on his way to doing. Whether he's cognizant or not of what he does, or who's pushing the buttons and pulling the strings behind the curtain, we don't know. We have a good idea. Everyone knows that this is Obama's third term. Biden's there for a reason, because he's controllable. He's a good puppet. We need strength back in the top position, and we need a cabinet of people that are trained in the jobs that they're put in for and get the job done. Let's not wait around for the next shoe to drop. We have the ability right now, as we the people, to decide what's going to become of our country. Are we going to lose it? Are we going to all learn Chinese or North Korean or Russian or a combination of all? Or are we going to be America first once again? We need to pull this country back to where it was. We need to re-educate some of the children that have been miseducated, if that's even possible now after 2 decades of it. We need to look at their curriculums, and if you have children, sit down with them, find out what they're being taught in their schools, because in some cases you're going to find out, wow, this isn't good. And get back to the family values. Have family meals. Talk amongst each other. Put down the cell phones and have a dinner together. Find out what your kids are up to, and the kids find out what your parents are up to and what their thought processes are, and respect their opinions. Then this country will go back to normal. We got away from this, and it's a darn shame, because parents now have to work 2 jobs in some cases, and there's no one home because they have to live paycheck to paycheck to support the Ukraine and illegal aliens that crash through the border on a daily basis. 40% of the people in this country don't file taxes, and now with another 12 million coming through the border, you think they're worried about filing a tax form? They're takers, not givers. And we that work and pay taxes get the shaft, while politicians enrich themselves through lobbyists, pharmaceutical companies, and just name it. There's so many special interest groups out there that are vying to get their person as a candidate into the White House. The biggest recipient right now of that is Nikki Haley. Like it or not, that's the facts. This one world economy nonsense has got to come to a stop. We have to look out for our own. We need to shut the border down, stop the influx, get back on track for America first, and don't let the dollar go away for some harebrained scheme about, a one world currency, Bitcoin, or any of that other nonsense that's air. There's nothing backing it. Somebody's going to get rich, but it's not going to be you. You're not in that club. And they have a club. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot to tell you today. I wish you all a great Tuesday. Here it is, a new year, but we're still facing last year's problems, and hopefully we'll get through it if we stick together, as Americans always have in the past. And we need to make some fundamental changes of our own, not what Obama promised. What I'm telling you, we need to survive. So with that, I think I'm going to trip on out of here. God bless you all. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you here tomorrow with some more news, commentary, and complaints. But remember, there's a comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. I want to know your thoughts on all of this. God bless and goodbye.